falling. Woo. Falling.
Hey, so my name is Brian Baker and welcome to my channel. I wanted to start making some videos just to personalize the channel and help you guys get to know me. First of all, this on my nose here is nothing to do with climbing. I'm a high school history teacher and I play soccer with the kids at lunch, and I tried to score the winning goal with a header wearing sunglasses. So that's what that big thing on my nose is. Anyway, I've been struggling with fear since my first day that I ever touched rock, and I'm certainly not over it yet. Yeah, so let's talk about Hanging Gardens. So a year and a half ago now, I went out to Hanging Gardens because it's this beautiful piece of rock, out here in Scottsdale. And it's big, it's tall, it's scary, and it's awesome. And so, I mean, you know how it is, you're on Mountain Project and you find these things, you want to go out. So I went out with my buddy Austin, shout out. And at that point I was preparing for the AMGA course. So to do that, you have to have at least 15 trad leads. So I was looking for trad leads, and Hanging Gardens is 5'6", and so I figured that would be fine. So we got to Hanging Gardens, and before I even touched the rock, I just broke down mentally. And I was like, I can't, there's no way I'm gonna lead this. This is my dog Phoebe, by the way. She loves to be in videos, and she just slobbered all over me. Perfect. And so hey, do you want to be in the video? Is that what you want to do? You need more attention today? Okay. So I looked up, and the first pitch was overhanging just a little bit, it's granite. And it had this scary move. You had to move out onto this face. The dog literally did spit up on me. I'm gonna move on. And I just looked at Austin, and I was like, you can lead today. There's no way I'm gonna do that. And so a year later, so I did the climb, and I was super nervous the whole time, even on top rope. And this has been a huge part of my fear journey, is even on top rope, a lot of times I'm terrified. And I look forward to climbing so much, and then I get on the wall and I'm like, okay, why can't I enjoy this thing that I love? I enjoy it in the car on the way home, but while I'm doing it, I'm like, when is this gonna be over? So anyway, a year later, I went back to Hanging Gardens, and I decided to give it a lead. And I brought some people with me where if I didn't lead it, we weren't gonna climb. And so I was very much in the mindset that I had to force myself to face the fear. I even have the video on YouTube, facing my fear on Hanging Gardens. And I thought, which now I know is totally wrong, that if I would just force myself to do it, then I would overcome that fear, right? And so I did. I led the climb, and I felt super great afterwards. And then I sort of figured, well, I've got this route figured out now. I can do Hanging Gardens. And so I went back a second time, and it felt even more scary. And I was like, that's weird. Why does this feel even more scary? And I had a problem. There's always an excuse, right? So I had a problem with my shoes that day. I had a hole in my shoe. And I was like, well, I guess it's the hole in my shoe. Which probably didn't matter too much on 5'6". And then I went back a third time to Hanging Gardens with my friend Kalina, and had the worst fear reaction I've ever had. I was leading this second pitch, which is a traverse, and I was so afraid I was climbing it the wrong way. I had my feet in the crack. There's this one part where you sort of get lured, you sort of get sucked into the crack with your feet. But if you do that, instead of climbing with your hands in the crack, then it's a little harder later on. Also, the rope's behind your legs. It's not smart. And so I'm on this traverse, and I'm having trouble getting gear in, and my body starts shaking violently. It was embarrassing. More so, we all get an Elvis leg sometimes, but at points. But I mean, this was horrible, shaking. Like, oh my gosh. I was trying to just breathe as much as I could to stay on the wall. I thought the shaking was actually gonna force me off the wall into like a bad swinging fall with the rope behind my leg. So, so after that, of course, there's always an excuse, and I said, well, you know what? It's probably electrolytes, right? My electrolytes were low. That's why I was shaking.
Goodness gracious. Must be low on electrolytes. Shaking.
Yeah, so the fear kept getting worse, and what I've learned since then, as I'm sure many of you know, just from watching one Hazel Finley video, is if you're not feeling it, and if you force yourself to overcome that fear, you're actually reinforcing the fear, and the next time you're in that situation or on that route, it's going to be worse, and that's definitely true for me on hanging gardens. Because every time I've gone back, I force myself and it gets worse and worse and worse. So let's sort of pivot a little bit, because there's a few things that have really helped me grow lately. One of those things was meeting a new climber. He's also a guide. His name's Josh. And Josh, so what I realized is I was climbing with a lot of climbing partners who, I was the most proficient in that team. And that's fine. But what I started to realize is that if I was going to push my abilities, I needed to sometimes climb with people who climb harder than me and who are more experienced than me. Basically, I can't be the leader every time. It's hard to lead yourself where you haven't gone. So I met Josh via my Instagram account, and he's a super cool dude. And he took me out to Pinnacle Peak, and we got on Chug-a-Lug. And he said we were gonna do some crack climbing. And I was pumped to do crack climbing. And we get on this route, and I didn't really have any fear issues or anything. But within 5 minutes, he had basically convinced me of the truth, which was I had no idea how to crack climb. I had watched a few White Boys videos, but I had no idea actually how to make the jams bomber. Just by moving your thumb and torquing the elbow a little bit. And so, anyway, Josh, shout out Josh, gave me some awesome coaching, and that really just helped me feel more confident on, a lot of, and some of the climbs I'll mention in a moment. So anyway, that's just one I think key piece here was climbing with someone who's more experienced than me. So while I was out with Josh, he took me to Pinnacle Peak, and he got me on 2 climbs that really pushed me. One is called Birthday Party, and it has this gnarly roof, even though it's only 5'7", and it requires proficient jamming to clear the roof, and I really struggled up that. And then we went up South Crack, which is always fun at Pinnacle Peak. We went down the backside, and then we climbed, or maybe it was a different day, I can't remember, but he got me on a climb called Chutes and Ladders, which is a really thin start. It also is only 5'7", but just, I don't want to be like it's sandbagged, because it's not sandbagged, but it's not your 5'7" at your local sport. Stop. Can you stop? It's not like your 5'7" at your local sport crag. Old school granite areas, the grading's a bit stiffer, and of course placing your own pro, it's different. But anyway, so
Up rope?
the climb, I was scared on top rope. It has this pretty fun layback after the thin section. But I was so psyched on the climb and birthday party as well. I wanted to give those a shot. And so I went and I gave those a shot. So I went out with Kalina to birthday party, and I got on that climb to fall. I knew it was almost impossible that I would red point that route. It's just really difficult. I know someone will say, well, of course you're not going to red point it if you're talking like that, but really it's more to do with it's either strength or my jams aren't good enough. Like I need to figure out how to clear that, technically how to clear that roof. But anyway, I wanted to try, and again, I'm like trying to face my fear, right? I'm trying to make myself do it. And so I went out with Kalina, and there are these videos of me out there where my breathing is like and the GoPro like really picks up your breathing. And so the bottom section it's thin. If you look on Mountain Project, they're like, these bolts aren't necessary, but I thought they were pretty necessary. And then you go left a little bit, you go up this ramp, and then you start traversing across this roof, and then eventually you get to this roof crack. So I went up there and like fully confident that, I think I put in a 3 and a 4 and a 2 on the roof move. Knowing I would fall, but again, like trying to face the fear. So I tried the roof, I fell. I tried it again, I fell. Committed more the second time. And there was some growth there, but it was also like really big fear reactions. It's like taking so much effort to manage the fear.
Ready to lower. I want to go around and set up a top rope.
So yeah, that happened. And then after that, let's see, I went out and tried Chutes and Ladders, and it was actually that same day. I tried Chutes and Ladders with another friend, and I did the like lower thin section, and I was like breathing really hard though, and then I got to the crux, which required like placing gear on the layback, and I just bailed. And of course I came up with an excuse. I was like, and my hand was cramping, but I should have gone for it. It's like, well, my hand's cramping, because I'd been out for 9 hours that day. So I bailed on that, and of course, I didn't feel good about it. Like, why couldn't I just fall? And so the difference was, because I was totally fine falling on birthday party. And the difference was, I planned to fall on birthday party, on that route. Like, I chose to fall. I had control. And what I learned later is when I went up on chutes and ladders, the reason I couldn't keep going and the reason I was so terrified is because I wasn't planning to fall, and I was climbing with this mindset that it was unacceptable to fall. Like, mentally, I've been free soloing, if that makes sense. And so the next week after chutes and ladders, I went out with my friend again, and we went out to climb Beat Feet, which is this awesome splitter up in the McDowells. And it's only 5'7" or 5'8", well within my ability.
Shouldn't have come up here.
Even, granite trad.
Gosh darn it.
But I climbed like 10 feet up and I failed.
Man. I think I might have just like hit my max on fear last week.
With the falls on that ceiling?
The falls with chutes. It's just hard to, I find it really hard to commit to this climb right now. I feel so insecure.
And I was so scared. This was like the culmination of all of this fear. I went up there, and I mean, it's like an hour approach, and I couldn't move past like my second or third piece. It just, there was so much doubt, so much fear. And I came down and I was telling my friend, like, I'm so sick and tired of being afraid. I felt like I had fear exhaustion. It just wasn't fun anymore. I was thinking, should I just stop climbing? I knew that as soon as I got in the car on the way home, I would start looking forward to the next climb. But it was like a sad moment and like not a great day. So after that, I just told myself, look, if you're gonna keep doing this, Brian, you have to figure this out. So I started doing research, and it was pretty awesome what I found, like super quickly. So I found this article on climbing.com by Ula Chobrak. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I tried to figure out how to pronounce it correctly, but Ula Chobrak, I'll link this article below. And I don't know, have you ever read an article that you're just like, man, this was written for me, like that hits home? And yeah, she had my number. So what she said was that, because she struggled with fear as well, she went out and she talked to this psychologist, and the psychologist basically like asked her, like, hey, were you always in charge of group projects at school? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. And did you like do the work because you didn't think others would do it? Like, yeah. And without explaining the whole article, and it is linked, Ula basically helped me realize that my fear in climbing was about control and my need for control and trust issues that I have. And this is one thing that's so cool about climbing is it's not just about climbing. Climbing will help you conquer yourself. I'm quoting someone there, but I forget who it is. It helps you to know yourself and to figure out how to live a better life. And so I started looking at my own life, and if I'm being honest with myself, yeah, I probably have control and trust issues in my real life as well. And so what the article said, or what I got from it, was basically I was climbing, like it was okay to fall when I was planning it because I was planning it. But it wasn't okay to fall. I was terrified of falling if I wasn't planning it. And so, I love studying mental health. I'm by no means an expert, but just, through various graduate degrees I've pursued, I've taken a few counseling courses and have studied various models for how to live a better life. And so it really reminded me of Stoicism, which if you could just boil Stoicism down to the nuts and bolts, it would be controlling what you can control and letting go of what you can't. Anyone who's ever had any proximity to the recovery community will know that prayer, right? To pray for I don't remember it, but the wisdom or whatever to control what you can and to let go of everything else and to know the difference between the two. So I started applying Stoicism to my climbing, and I asked myself, okay, I'm gonna do a scary lead. Like what can I control and what can't I control? And so I realized I can control the route I'm on. Hazel Finley, she says, if you're not stoked, if you're not psyched for the route, it's probably not the right time for that route. We don't want to force ourselves. So I can pick a route that I'm psyched on. I can, because of, maybe some of the trust issues I have, or just, a lot of this is just basic risk management, right? I can make sure my belayer is competent. I can, if I want extra safety, I can make sure my belayer is belaying me on a gree with a fat, dynamic rope that will catch no matter what, instead of a skinny rope. I can pick a route that has good protection options the entire way. I can pick a route that's within my ability level. Or if it's a route that I think there's a good chance I'll fall on, then again, I can pick a route that has really good pro. I can control placing my pro. People love to make fun of you when you sew up a route, but one of the main causes of climbing accidents is gear coming out if it's not placed well. So I can place a good amount of gear, and I can place it really well. And I can, place it as a professional would. And I can wear a helmet, and there's a whole much, there's a huge list of what we can control. And the point of this video is not to go through all of that, but I think you get the idea. And then I asked myself, what can't I control? And there's a lot I can't control, but really, when it boils down to it, I can't control slipping off the rock. Or let me put it another way. I might have an unexpected fall, and that's okay, right? And so then I really started trying to hardwire that into my brain. What can I control? What can't I control? And so I did a lot of head work. And even just thinking about it and meditating on that in the car and before bed in the morning, and even praying about it, to be honest with you. And I tried to hardwire that into my head, and it worked to a certain extent. So I went back to Chutes and Ladders with Josh, and I was still scared. This is not, it's not magic, right? There were still some nerves, and I was still scared, and it was great to have Josh there to coach me, a more experienced climber, right, to coach me through that climb. But I got up on Chutes and Ladders. I did the bottom thin section, and then there I was looking at the crux, thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to commit to this layback, and I did, and I went up. And I had a blast with that thought in mind. You know what, Brian? control what you can and let go of what you can't. And so I just focused on placing gear and making sure the rope wasn't behind my leg, and looking at the fall zones and assessing that as I progressed. But so I put on this layback and really struggled to get gear in, and I started shaking on the layback, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall. And then I just had this sort of magic thought that actually that's okay, and this is super fun, and a fall here would actually be rad because I've got like a multitude of bomber pieces below me. And Josh was there, and he's like, "It's all right, a fall's good, like the fall's safe."
Wait, what now?
And so I had that moment where, I don't know, I think sometimes we fall because we give up, and we say we've slipped or whatever, or we were out of energy, but really we just, we just wanted it to be over. And so, like in the video, I think I even say, like, don't give up, keep going, I'm talking to myself. And I finally get these pieces in, and I think I have to do 3 pieces in the layback. And I did it. And that was amazing. That was like a turning point for me. Not that I've totally conquered this, but...
Huh?
That's all the same.
Okay. I think I'm indirect, you can take me off belay.
And then a few days later, I went up to Prescott And there's a climb there called hop, skip, and a jump. It is kind of terrifying. It involves just a jump from one tower to another. And that's another one of those climbs that I said I will never ever climb that. And
Give me a
I
little
did it.
slack.
I went there and I did it, and it was awesome. And I jumped across that tower, and I did it safely. And now I'm like working on routes that I never thought I'd be able to work on. My mind was just so limiting. I'm working on this 5.9 over at Pinnacle Peak now. Probably sounds lame to some of you, but you know, 5.9 granite trad can be interesting. And it's called Two Cams and a Jam, and I just took a big fall on that, and like it was fun and it felt great. It felt safe. And so anyway, yeah, that's the journey I've been on.
Caught on the nut.
And
I can't say I didn't go for it.
And, yeah, I'll post those videos, or you can find them here or here, you know, somewhere. That's what the YouTubers do, right? Of those climbs. So yeah, thanks.